Okay, so this will be the explanation for the example 11, which is about buffs and debuffs in 2D, but this applies also to 3D. Uh, so first of all, let's look at the scene here. This is the same as the one with the melee attack, but I added this UI here with the different stats like HP, mana, physical and magical attacks and so on. So when I press 1, for example, I get this movement speed buff. And when I press 2, I have this physical attack buff. So let's look at how this works. So I created a script called stats. This will be attached both to the player and the debuffs. So let's look at how this script looks. We have different properties like HP, mana, physical damage. But you notice we have 4 variables for which one. We have, for example, for the health, we have the base health. So that's the health that you have when you spawn, when the game starts. You have the health, which is the health right now at this moment. And then we have a health multiplier and health additive. So health multiplier, it's for buffs that give you a percentage. A percentage. The additive is if you get flat of a specific value. And you might ask, why do we have four variables for just one property? And the reason is sometimes buffs overlap. So let's say we just had one value, health, let's say, and we get a 30% buff. And that buff will disappear after some time, but while this buff still exists, we get another buff of a certain percentage. Now, so let's say first we get a 30% buff, and then we get another 30% buff. In that case, the health will not be increased by 60%, it will be increased by more. So to fix that, every frame we update these values with this formula. So the base health plus additive times the health multiplier. So by default, this health multiplier is 1, so that means 100%. So when we get a percentage buff, we just add to this health multiplier. So this, for example, if we get a 20% buff, we add 0.2 to this multiplier. And then if we want to add a value, not a percentage, we use this health additive. And this applies to our stats here. So every frame we update these properties. And then we have two functions, one that will add stats and that one that will remove stats. So you see we add the multiplier and the additive variables. And the buffs and debuffs will use these functions. So for example, we have the move speed buff here. This has a stats script. So in this case, notice everything is 0 because we only add the movement speed. So in this case, this increases the movement speed by 50%. So 0.5 here on the move speed multiplier. And then we have a buff script that will add these stats to the player's stat script, and then after some time it will remove the buff. So let's look at the buff script. We have two stats variables. One is the stats script on the buff, and one is the stats of the target. So the player. And then we have a duration, so because this buff will disappear after some time, and then the counter to count time, and then when it reaches duration, we remove the stats. So because this is an object, this buff is an object, and we attach it to the player, we spawn it and make it a child of the player, we can get the stats with transform parent here. So the stats from the buff, we get it from this object, and then the stats of the player we get it from the parent. So transform parent get component stats here. And then we use that function to add the stats from the buff to the stats of the player. You know. And then here we count time, and when it's time to remove it, we remove it here. We use the remove stats function, and then we destroy this object. And in this case, I have a visual effect. This one we discussed in the previous examples is a trade effect for the move speed buff, and then for the physical attack buff, it's just a particle system. Um, so you can also add the visual effects to this. Now the behavior of the player is separate from the stats. It's another script, and in that script, I only use two stats in this case. I just use the move speed and the physical attack. In this case, it's just called damage. And we have to update these stats that we use every frame. So here I have public stats variable, and I use this to update the move speed and the damage in a function. And also, I decided to make this little UI here so we can see the change happening. So you see I have a update stats function that I call every frame in update. And in this case, I just use the move speed and the physical damage. So that's what I do here. I update it from the stats, from the stats script, and then this is the UI. So I guess that's how this works. Let me see if there is something else I can show you. Obviously, if you don't want to have this additive here or the health multiplier, you can remove this and just change the formula. This is not perfect because because we use integers for each property. So when we add the percentage, I convert everything to float here. I convert the base health and the additive to float. So this here will return a float, but we're using int, so I have to float it to integer. So this is not will not return the exact value. It will return slightly smaller value than the exact value. But you can change this to floats if you want. So I guess that's everything for the buffs and debuffs.